Imagine a time when the Earth was a hostile, unforgiving place. A time when survival was a daily struggle, and humans fought not only nature, but also their own weaknesses. This is the story of the most miserable era in human history, a period that tested the limits of our species in ways we can hardly fathom today. Over 700 years ago, humanity was on the brink. We were few, scattered across the planet, struggling to adapt to a changing world. But it wasn't just environmental shifts that threatened our survival. A cataclysmic event, the eruption of Mount Toba, triggered a volcanic winter that darkened the skies for years, plunging Earth into a deep freeze. For generations, temperatures plummeted, crops failed, and animals perished. Humans, already vulnerable, faced food shortages, extreme cold, and the threat of extinction. The Toba eruption was a turning point, pushing humanity to the brink of collapse. The eruption of Mount Toba is believed to have caused a volcanic winter that severely impacted the climate. For humans living in small, isolated groups, this was nothing short of a disaster. Life in the Ice Age was brutal. Humans were not at the top of the food chain. Giant predators like saber-toothed cats and mammoths roamed the earth, while early humans were forced to live in constant fear. Even the most advanced tools couldn't protect them from the harsh realities of their environment. During this era, our ancestors struggled to build shelters, find food, and avoid becoming prey. The concept of home was a fleeting dream. There was no safety in numbers. Every day was a test of endurance, intelligence, and luck. Humans were living in environments that were simply not hospitable. The competition for food, the constant threat of predators, and the inability to control their surroundings made life extraordinarily difficult. As the Earth began to thaw, humanity saw a glimmer of hope. The agricultural revolution, the ability to cultivate crops and domesticate animals, promised to change the course of history. But with it came a new set of challenges that made life even harder. The shift from hunting and gathering to farming seemed like a blessing, but it brought immense hardship. Early farmers faced grueling labor, diseases spread by domesticated animals, and the unpredictability of crops that could fail due to poor weather or pests. Farming allowed populations to grow, but it also created more complex societies, where inequality and competition for resources became rampant. This led to wars, famines, and the spread of disease. It wasn't the utopia many hoped for. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, a time when disease and war devastated Europe. The Black Death, which wiped out an estimated 1/3 of the population, was a key chapter in this dark period of human history. For millions, the plague was a death sentence. Entire villages were decimated, and the fear of contagion spread faster than the disease itself. Medical knowledge was limited, and there was no way to prevent or stop the rapid spread of the pestilence. The Black Death had a profound impact on Europe, not just in terms of mortality, but also in the social, political, and economic upheavals it caused. It is arguably one of the most miserable and dark periods in human history. The misery of human existence didn't end with disease. The history of humanity is also a history of war, from the brutal conflicts of the ancient world to the wars of the 20th century. The human story is often defined by violence, bloodshed, and destruction. Whether it was the chaos of the Napoleonic Wars or the horrific violence of the World Wars, conflict has been a constant in human history. In the 20th century alone, millions of lives were lost to war, famine, and genocide. It is a dark legacy that still shapes our world today. World War I and World War II were particularly catastrophic. Not only did they result in unprecedented loss of life, but they also led to political upheaval, the collapse of empires, and the rise of authoritarian regimes. Through the Ice Ages, the rise of agriculture, plagues, and wars, humanity has endured unimaginable suffering, but through it all, we have survived. The most miserable era in human history may be behind us, but the struggle for survival, for peace, and for progress continues. Perhaps the greatest triumph of our species is our ability to adapt, learn, and overcome the most trying challenges. The future is uncertain, but the resilience of humanity, forged through the harshest of times, gives us hope that we can rise above the worst that history has to offer. Thanks for watching.